Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation brought to you by Bet365. My name is Dave Quadrelli. I am joined by Harmon Dial, our technical producer, Jake Frazier. Harmon, we've got some breaking rumors. Not breaking news, just breaking rumors, is what I'm going to call it today. Steven Rosner, out of New York, Islanders reporter, talking about Connor Garland and the Isles. This is the tweet. He said there are serious discussions happening between the Isles and the Canucks. Been told it's surrounding Garland, but was told that it could be Garland plus. Then he followed that up just a few minutes later and said, I believe Tyler Myers has been discussed. He's got a full no trade clause though, so unclear at this moment. Believe the Islanders had discussions about Myers back at the 2022 NHL draft before a deal fell through on the draft floor. Now, Jimmy Murphy followed that up, and I don't know if we touched on yesterday's show. It might have come out after, but Jimmy Murphy, who reported yesterday on Monday that the Boston Bruins were in on Connor Garland, he chimed in and said, as I wrote yesterday and confirmed again today, the Bruins circled back on Garland and Besser, but I was just told that there was just not a fit. He said that in quotation marks, and that the Canucks turned to the Isles. I'm also told the Red Wings had talks on Garland as well. Not sure where that stands. Absolute cinema. The deadline's just a couple days away. I'm loving the rumors. This team needs a win. Obviously not on the ice. This team needs a win like this so badly, where you look at a team like the Islanders, and we were talking before the show went live. You see Andre Palat, his $6 million cap hit. They did just trade for him, but Drouin, Duclair, you see bad money on the Islanders' books, and you think to yourself, especially with the latter two, I'd say, with Drouin and Duclair, you think to yourself, okay, if the Canucks can juice the return by taking on some bad money and then maybe even rehabilitate those guys, like there's a rare opportunity for the Canucks. Like, hey, you can get a ton of minutes and maybe we could turn you into something that we can ship out at a future deadline. The Canucks need something like this. The Canucks need, we talked about, they need to move a veteran guy out, moving two out if you package Garland and Myers, and doing it where you've made another savvy move by taking money back to juice the return. They need a win like that so badly.
Yeah, and just to take stock of the Isles cap situation and what type of position they're looking at, they're currently projected with around $6 million in cap room, according to Puckpedia. So they can take on Garland, who's making $4.95 million straight up. But if it ends up being Garland and Myers, that's too much money. They're going to need the Canucks to either retain on Myers or take some money back. And I imagine they'd prefer to take money back. As you mentioned, I think specifically I'd be looking at Duclair and Drouin as more likely being the contracts that the Isles would want to dump. They just traded for Palat 9 games ago. There's a relationship between Palat and Matthew Darche, who used to be the assistant GM of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I can't imagine, or at least I'd be surprised, especially seeing, the other night against the Panthers, Palat was on the top line with Horvat and Barzal. And I imagine them being a younger team, they would value his championship pedigree. I'd imagine of their inefficient contracts that he's the one least likely to be involved in something like this, where if the Canucks are sending Garland and Myers and Vancouver's willing to take a contract back, I'd more specifically be looking at Drouin or Duclair. In the case of both those players, though, they do have trade protection, which could complicate things. So Duclair, he's got a full no trade clause for this season. He's got 2 years left after this one at $3.5 million. And then Jonathan Drouin, he's got a year left after this one at a $4 million cap hit. He's got a 16-team no trade list. So even between Drouin and Duclair, if it got to the point where the Canucks were close on Garland and Myers, I'd specifically think Drouin is maybe more likely. And he's the one that I'd want to target more if I'm the Canucks anyway, because he has one fewer year of term left on his contract, meaning you're a year closer to being able to sell him at the deadline by retaining money and being able to cash in on him. And it's easier, or at least maybe more likely, that like his trade protection is less restrictive than Duclair, who has a full no trade.
What do you think the Canucks can get here? Like, we're talking about them juicing the return, right? So what does a juiced return look like in a Connor Garland trade?
Well, at a baseline, I would think that Garland's market value is around a second round pick and a B grade prospect, right? I know perfect scenario. I'm sure the Canucks would want a first round pick for Garland,
Yeah.
but he's having a down year, hasn't scored in 22 games. His play driving metrics have taken a hit this year. So you're not exactly selling high on him. And I'm sure that some teams have a looming, at least some level of concern surrounding his 6x6 contract extension, which kicks in next season. So with that in mind, I don't think you're likely with Garland on his own to get a first round pick. And then, so that's kind of the baseline you're looking at. If you do take that contract back, like a Drouin or a Duclair, then you'd be hoping for a first round pick if you're the Canucks. And this is where the Islanders have two of them this year. They have their own first round pick, but also Colorado's first round pick as a result of the Brock Nelson trade. And worth noting, obviously, that the Colorado pick, even if they get bounced in round one, so long as they end up winning the division with the rules of how draft picks are seeded for playoff teams, they're going to pick 20, 25 or later, even if they get bounced in round one. So that Colorado pick is going to be late, presuming they don't choke the division lead down the stretch to a team like Dallas. So that difference is, of course, worth keeping in mind, as well as a lot of times we will generically discuss a first round pick as if all first round picks are equal. But this is where it's not just about it. If you're able to get a first round pick, which of course would be a win for the Canucks, but the valuation of these different first rounders is going to be different as well. Where the Owls pick is a little bit more likely to be in the high teens than the Colorado one, obviously. And then there's even the idea of, well, if you're the Canucks, I'd love to trade for their 2027 first round pick and maybe bet on them not being a playoff team next year.
A lot of thoughts coming in our chat. If you want to make sure your question or comment gets in the show, hit us with a super chat. Proceeds from our super chat go to the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health condition by smart breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Canucks got some cap room. There's a roster move that was done. Moments before the show, the Canucks announced that Thatcher Demko is going on LTIR. P.O. Joseph, who was hurt last night, is on IR. So we'll probably save that conversation about P.O. Joseph and who could come up. We'll save that conversation for anyone else. But Vancouver immediately gets, I am reading this from Thomas Drance, Vancouver immediately gets an additional $3.82 million in cap space. The plan is for Demko to go on season-ending LTI once that's approved. Vancouver would then get the full LTI relief of his $5 million cap hit.
Yeah, I'm not reading too much into that, just because with the possibility of, let's say you're shipping out Garland and Myers, even if you take a contract back, you're shipping out more
back,
AV
baby.
rather than
Take them all back
compared to how much you're absorbing. I guess it would maybe only matter for order of operations, or if they have other, I don't know, deals cooking, or there are other conversations around taking bad contracts on, the Andrew Mangiapanis of the world, or I don't know, Patrick Laine, where they're looking to take those types of deals on and would want to execute that before they actually begin selling off their vets ahead of the actual deadline on Friday.
Dude, I'm so here for a band of misfit toys. Post deadline, it's like, and here's the Canucks' new top line. You've got Anthony Duclair, Patrick Laine. Just, yeah, I'm all for it. Let's see if Jeff's all for it. Jeff Patterson joins us. He's a presentation of our friends over at Tim Hortons. And I kid you not, Harm, I went to Tim's right before the show. My cup's outside. I'll go get my cup to prove it to everybody. But I did. I had some Tim's today because it's roll-up season. You can still play on the cup while supplies last, but don't forget to also play on the Tim's app, which means more chances to win just for doing what you're already doing, getting Tim's. There's a wide range of prizes to be won, gift cards for various brands to physical 5-burner barbecues, which, you know what, I'm just going to live check right now. I've got my roll-up right here. I've got 2 roll-ups because I got 2 items today. I'm just going to do it right now. I still have to roll the cup as well. That one was nothing. Let's see this one. Not a 5-burner barbecue, but I'll take the free drink. I'll take my free drink. I just rolled up to. It's that easy. Roll-up season's only around until March 22nd, so don't wait until you realize you forgot to play. For more info, check out timhortons.ca/rollup. Roll up to win only at Tim's. All right, Jeff Patterson joins us now. Jeff, there's a lot to get to, so this is going to be a long hit. Buckle in. But I'll ask you this question that Harm and I have been asking for the past week. Over, under 3.5 total trades, okay? 3.5 is the line. Over, under the number of trades the Canucks make before Friday's deadline.
Well, I like the segue, first of all, with the Tim's read there, because the Canucks kind of rolled up in the third period into a little ball and just let the Dallas Stars skate around them. Now you got Carolina coming in tomorrow night. Look, all season long, I've been on the trade everybody make as many deals as you can, but when they put out their memo league-wide in late November and really haven't done anything other than Quinn wanted out and Kiefer Sherwood, it tells you that there hasn't been massive demand for the players that they've got. And so here we sit on Tuesday afternoon, inside 3 days now from the National Hockey League trade deadline. And I think that theme is now sort of the prevailing sentiment that for the guys, so certainly the pending unrestricted free agents, I think they're going to have to sit tight and wait as other teams explore other options. The guys that they've got essentially are going to be last minute sort of circle back types when I'm talking about Evander Kane and Teddy Bluger and David Camp. So I'm encouraged by the trade talk that's out there. Obviously, this Tyler Myers thing has been far more protracted than I think anybody expected. And it's kind of wild that there isn't any kind of resolution. But Adam Foote again saying the plan is to hold him out tomorrow night, unless, of course, something does change on that front. And he is moved by the time the puck drops against the Carolina Hurricanes. So I'm like you guys, trying to track everything in real time here. And there's a lot of noise, but we're not seeing much around the National Hockey League, save for the Oilers and their Connor Murphy deal yesterday. So it does kind of feel like it's coming down to the wire here. And when all is said and done, I want to believe that this management group is going to be able to pull off some trades, but I need to see it because we've been talking about it for months here. And really, given where they are in the standings, there has been very little action in terms of moving bodies out and trying to create some space and trying to gain some assets.
Jay, but I'm trying to wrap my head around the Tyler Myers situation. It's been an odd one where they've been sitting him out, but he's still been taking warm-ups for games, and he was back practicing today. It'd be one thing if it was, all right, the deal's on the 1 yard line, and it sounds like a player that's pretty likely to move by all accounts and a lot of the reporting that's out there. Not to say that he's completely shot down the idea of Detroit, but it's clearly not a preferred destination for him. And it almost feels like the Canucks are boxed into an awkward spot now where is the toothpaste out of the tube? And you have to move Tyler Myers ahead of the deadline, which perhaps negatively impacts your leverage, where if you hadn't gotten to the point of pulling him out and made this really public, if other teams are calling and lowballing you, perhaps you could say, well, we don't have to trade Tyler Myers because he's not an expiring contract. But now it just feels like a weird situation. What do you make of how the teams handled this whole situation?
Well, I understood it coming out of the Olympic break, that first game. I mean, it did sound like there was a legitimate offer on the table and that it had been taken to Tyler Myers, who controls the process. So I understood sitting him out then. What I don't get is, from Detroit's standpoint, like, why wouldn't you have put some sort of time frame? Giving a player like Tyler Myers all the respect in the world, you're trying to acquire him. You don't want to rush him into anything. But Detroit, the business of hockey goes on. I mean, Adam Foote has to ice a lineup here without a defenseman on a nightly basis that would be in the lineup under just about any other circumstance. And so it is affecting the Vancouver Canucks. But I would also think, from the Red Wings standpoint, if Myers decides that no, he doesn't want to wait to go to Detroit, then the Red Wings have to move on to plan B or plan C, whatever that is. So I am a little surprised just how this sort of feels like it's in limbo. And you're right, I was at practice again today and to see Tyler Myers out there paired with Zeev Bouillon. But Adam Foote did say that the plan is not to play him tomorrow night, so don't get too excited to think that this is going to come to any sort of conclusion here before the deadline. I will say this, if there is a player on this team, and really if there's a player in the National Hockey League that somehow could make this work in terms of if he gets through the deadline and he's still a Canuck returning to lineup, I think Tyler Myers would roll with the punches and just say, hey, it's part of the business. It's why I had the trade protection in the first place. I applied it, but I'm still a Vancouver Canuck, and I want to be a Vancouver Canuck, and on he goes. But I can't recall a situation like we saw Artemi Panarin set out for a while, but then he got moved. And so we have to wait and see where this goes with Tyler Myers. So, yeah, I mean, it felt like something was imminent. Again, I understand the process, and he had to weigh his options here. I tweeted it out at the time. You know, if Tyler Myers was going to waive, like, I wanted him to accept a deal to an absolute stone cold Stanley Cup contender. I know there are no guarantees, but like, to me, the Red Wings, they might be a playoff team, but they're not a contender to win the Stanley Cup. At the age of 36, with a year remaining beyond this one, he's not going to get many more chances. And so, you know, as I look at the Detroit Red Wings, and there were suggestions that they were eyeing him as a second pairing guy. I'm sorry, as much respect as I have for Tyler Myers, and I know you and Irf got into this last week, so I don't want to revisit it too much, but Tyler Myers, if you're acquiring him at this stage of his career and the season that he's had, to plug into your top four thinking that that's going to make you better for a playoff push, I just don't see it. Then I watched the Dallas Stars come to town last night, and if they're looking for Tyler Myers in that defensive system as a third pairing guy, absolutely. Like, I could see that as a perfect fit for a player of Tyler Myers' status and you know, the caliber of his play at this point. But the Red Wings just, again, they took their shot. It doesn't look like it's going to pan out for them. But if Tyler Myers is going to go on the move here and accept the trade, I really do hope that he handpicks like a sweet landing spot that gives him a legitimate shot at picking up getting his hands on the Stanley Cup.
Jeff, honestly, like, I want to ask you about last night's game, but I also don't want to move too far away from the trade stuff because it just feels like there's a lot of stuff to talk about right now. I'll ask you one. I'm not even going to say one last because I'm probably going to come back to it. But when it comes to this trade speculation, right? We were just talking about the Islanders. We were talking about Connor Garland. Like, are you of the mindset that the Canucks have to move on Connor Garland at this deadline, or certainly before July 1st? And really, like, how many vets are you thinking they're going to move ahead of this deadline? And I know it's similar to the last question I asked you, but you heard what Jake DeBrusk had to say to Ben Kuzma. And I know he talked about it today. It kind of clarified a little bit at practice as well. But, like, how many vets do you think the Canucks are going to move here?
I mean, I'd like to think that it could be several, 2, 3 possibly, but at the same time, it doesn't sound like there have been legitimate offers that teams are kicking tires. Teams want the Canucks to retain on some of their guys that have significant term. You know, this is all part of the machinery of the hours leading up to trade deadline. So you kind of have to parse through the weeds here and try and figure out where the smoke and you know, what's actually signal. I mean, the reports from Stefan Rosner, who is hands-on with that Islanders team and has been right on other reports throughout the season, you know, I think he's got his finger on the pulse of what's going on from the Islanders side. And so I take that, you know, with some significance that the Islanders are legitimately interested. The New York Islanders are fascinating to me. I am all in on the Islanders. Like, they're tied with Pittsburgh for second in their division. Like, why wouldn't a team like the New York Islanders add some pieces, go for home ice advantage? Nobody's catching Carolina in that division, but load up, get home ice, get at least a first round playoff win, and then take your chances against a team like Carolina in the second round. I think, like, you know, things do move quickly in the National Hockey League. I mean, we're so focused on the Canucks and how long a rebuild here might take. You look at the last 12 months for the New York Islanders. From around this time last year, they were one of the most nondescript, one of the boringest teams in the National Hockey League. They win the draft lottery. They get Matthew Schaefer, completely reinvigorates that organization. They're fun to watch now, And now they're buyers here at the trade deadline. I'm all in. Like, sign me up. I want to see the Islanders team. Same way I want to see the Buffalo Sabres. Like, they've come so far this year after all the darkness. Let's go, Sabres. Like, go and get Robert Thomas and other pieces, and let's give your fans something that they haven't had in forever. So, is it incumbent on the Canucks to trade Connor Garland now? They can do so without any parameters. He controls the situation after July 1st, and that's just going to make it that much more difficult. I think Connor Garland's a way better player than he has shown this year. I mean, this year has been a disaster, but 7 goals, his last one into an empty net. I heard you talking about give you a new first line, Dave, when you brought me in of miscast characters.
Yeah.
So it finally came to this at practice today. Long overdue to see a shake-up of the line combinations. The Canucks' new first line, their top line, if you will, Höglander, Pettersson, Garland. Garland's gone 22 games without a goal. Höglander's gone 21 games without a goal. And EP40, you got benched the other night, he's gone 13 games without a goal. That is the top line for your 2025-26 Vancouver Canucks all together, all in. Yes, it's rearranging the deck chairs. I get that, but something had to give. The other combinations weren't working, so was not surprised when I walked into the building today to see Adam Foote trying something a little bit different. So it's going to be fascinating. I mean, it just feels like the whole thing's in a holding pattern. I think everybody in that locker room is waiting for the trades to happen. Certainly Adam Foote, he was a little snarly today. I think he's frustrated through all of this on a lot of levels, but just again, there's sort of everybody's waiting for that next thing to happen so that at least they can move forward beyond the trade deadline of knowing who's here and who they have to work with and all those types of things. So to come back to your question about Garland, to me, it makes sense if you could move off. I think Connor Garland's a better player than he's shown this year, but I think like a lot of people certainly have reservations about what that contract's going to look like, and not even so much the term, but I just he is sort of what he is. He's been a 50-point guy here in Vancouver at the top and the height of his production. What's he going to look like as he ages into his mid-30s? And so they got to get off some of those contracts. And if they can move this one now, then I think certainly it would make sense for the Vancouver Canucks.
First of all, and I know they might never play an actual game together if the Garland rumors are true, but I've never been more excited, as bleak as it sounds, to see a line with 0 combined goals in their last 13 games put together. Honestly, when I saw the line combinations tweeted out, I was like, finally, this is actually a lot more inspiring than PD, DeBrusk, and Kane, anything but that trio. So wanted to at least clarify that. Long overdue for a shakeup there. Secondly, what I actually wanted to ask you about was Jake DeBrusk, kind of flying under the radar a little bit because of the new Garland rumors, but he had a conversation with Ben Kuzma that went up where it sounded like he was open-minded on wanting to move on from being on a rebuilding team. He seemed to clarify some of those comments at practice today. What did he say at practice, and what's your interpretation of how DeBrusk views his future with the organization?
Yeah, it was interesting. Just the way the questions were put to him by Olivia McDonald, the Canucks' own team reporter. It certainly sounded like Jake had requested this opportunity to speak. So he was kind of given the floor to walk back some of the comments and, try to talk about the fact that he signed up here. He wants to be here. He wanted it obviously to go differently than it's gone so far. But he sounded, and I don't know if somebody got to him in the organization and said, like, we don't need you popping off in the media. And he's not one. I mean, he's been as accountable as they come all season in both of his years here. But it was just it was sort of a curious case of him being given this opportunity to sort of roll it back just a little bit. It's fascinating to me that, he got pulled off the line with Pettersson and Kane there last night. On Saturday, I mean, the market explodes when PD gets benched. Last night it happens to DeBrusk, and it's sort of an afterthought. But, in saying that, like, he was out for a 1.5-minute shift on what turned out to be the game-winning goal. He lost Bichel, and Bichel scores, and that's been part of the issue for Jake DeBrusk. There have been some missed defensive assignments along the way. And if you're not scoring, then those get heightened because it's not like you can outscore your mistakes. And his season has just been so bizarre. I mean, the number of times I've been on with you guys and we've pointed to the fact that like all these power play goals, but almost nothing at 5-on-5. And now it's 1 goal in 17 games. And that was a 5-on-5 goal against Pittsburgh. He hasn't scored a power play goal since the second game of that 6-game road trip when they got skunked out east. And that was like early January. So the things that he was doing on the power play have completely vanished. And they haven't really been replaced at 5-on-5. But it's funny. There are so many hot spots with this team around the trades and around the personnel and everything else that's going on that nobody seems to care. And again, in a lost season, it ultimately doesn't matter. But they have 1 power play goal in their last 13 games. The last power play is like 1 for its last 26 or something like that. And Phil Aronik scored the goal against San Jose. So, I was just going back this morning and looking at the last time that some of these forwards scored on the power play. Brock Besser was the last forward to score. That was in Columbus at the tail end of that road trip. DeBrusk. Elias Pettersson has not scored a power play goal since November 20th. Again, for all the things that we talk about that he hasn't done, he only has 2 power play goals in the season, but he hasn't scored a power play goal since November 20th, which just kind of makes you shake your head there as well. So, there's obviously you can come up with statistics that paint this season in an unflattering light. There are a lot of them out there, and we'll just ultimately see where it goes here. But Jake DeBrusk, just a lot of nothing. And as much as I like Jake DeBrusk the person, and he's terrific to deal with, ultimately he's being judged as a hockey player. He's being paid to be a hockey player. And from the guy that scored 28 last year, like right now, or really since Christmas, just hasn't looked that part. And he's had Elias Pettersson. Like at practice today, he's with David Camp, and we know how that generally goes for wingers. But I think it's kind of come to that. And as he said, Harm, like even if that new look top line hasn't scored in forever, it just felt overdue. Like running the same lines out there night after night wasn't working, made no sense. So at least try something a little different. I'd like to see Liam Ogren. He got bumped up into a top 6 role with Rossi and Besser at practice. At some point, play him with Elias Pettersson. Linus Karlsson, they committed to him based on a hot 2-week stretch, and he's gone ice cold and has basically been buried down on the 4th line. He had a little bit of success with Elias Pettersson earlier in the season. Like, why wouldn't you go back to at least experimenting there? So I do think there are some things that Adam Foote could have done sooner, but he's complicit in all of this as well. And at the end of the day, they are the 32nd place team in the National Hockey League, and it's pretty evident when you watch why they are where they are.
Jeff, what do you think of Elias Pettersson's statement game? Got benched, right? Big comeback game. Everyone was talking about it. Foote said, I know he'll be better. What do you think of Elias Pettersson's game? I saw the shot total. 0.
Yeah, he had a couple of shot attempts. He had 3 shot attempts. 2 of them got blocked. There was at least this idea that he was trying to put pucks to the net. But, at $11.6 million, we just can't give him credit for thinking about putting pucks on the net. This was my frustration with the whole media availability yesterday. It's just the talk is cheap. We've heard it way too many times. I've got to be better. He thinks that that's kind of his way out. Then be better. And nothing changes on the ice. And there's more to give there. I know there's more to give. He's a better player, has been a better player. He's been a star player, hasn't forgotten how to play hockey. It just looks like the joy of the game has been ripped away from him. I don't know how he gets it back. And I guess I feel like the ship has sailed that he'll ever be back anywhere close to the 100-point player. But I still think that you just don't lose the ability that you had. And I know that we've talked at length about skating speed and the speed bursts and shot volume and shot metrics and all those. And yes, the numbers don't lie there. They are all way down in his refusal to shoot pucks. And I've asked him point blank about shot volume. And again, he says, yeah, I know I have to shoot more. And then you get in a 13-game drought, and what's he got? 12 shots on goal, I think. And 4 of those came in 1 game. So that can excuse the numbers that much more. I didn't like anything about that whole interaction yesterday. And I was there in the scrum. I had a question about just how bad the season has felt and trying to process all the losing that's gone on. He actually gave me a sentence, so I kind of felt like that was a victory because for the first 10 questions or so, it was just the one-word stuff. But, I've spent a lot of time around him throughout his career. I've covered him his entire time here. There have been some awkward interactions. There have been times where you knew that he just didn't have any interest in discussing things with the media. This one felt different. Like, this one felt confrontational, and I mean, it's easy for me to say, but it felt like it came from his side more than the media. The media started with a bunch of softballs and just tried to get him warmed up and talking, and he took issue with a bunch of them. And it doesn't serve him well. It's not a strategy. I wish somebody could reach him to let him know that it's just not working for him. I know Patrick Johnson had a one-on-one with him this afternoon, away from the scrums. It was just PJ and Patrick at the back of the locker room, and even PJ came away kind of shaking his head that, it didn't really go anywhere today. And this was the day after, and he thought maybe that just one reporter and one player, he might be able to draw something out of him, but there wasn't much there. So who knows where it goes from here, but it's frustrating. It's frustrating for him. It's frustrating for his teammates, his coaching staff, the organization. And as I saw reaction online yesterday, like, even people that, have supported him throughout his time here. Like, I saw a lot of that. Like, I've been on Team Petey, but I see that kind of stuff. And even I'm starting to sort of change my tune. And I'm not speaking for me. I'm saying that's what I saw a fair bit of on social yesterday. Again, I don't think he did himself any favors. And in fact, I don't know about you guys, but like, I had people from around the league that watched the entire scrum, and they were like, what was that? Like, we knew that he was a quirky guy and can be awkward, but that, and then you think there's 31 other teams, if some of them truly have a legitimate interest. I don't know that 3 minutes of an awkward scrum is going to change their mind entirely, but I do think some hockey people probably didn't have a true sense of, where this guy is, just in terms of his interaction with the media and by extension to the fan base. And I just didn't think it came across as a particularly good look in a year where there have been a lot of those days and nights for this player. But that one, just, I walked away from there thinking that it has to be better. This can't continue.
Do the Canucks need to make a coaching change, Jeff? They look like a team that's quit. They certainly looked like one last night. And the question I've always had, again, when we weigh this question is, okay, obviously you need to finish 32nd. That's a non-negotiable. Canucks have a pretty good cushion now for 32nd. The question is always, okay, is this environment causing ceiling-lowering damage to Zeev Buium, to Tom Willander? Again, all of the defensemen except for Filip Hronek have looked awful this year. Zeev Buium hasn't looked great since coming here. Was looking better in Minnesota. Do you worry at all about that? Like, do the Canucks need to make a coaching change in season?
I think with 22 games to go, I think Adam Foote rides this thing out. I think that the Olympic break gave the Canucks an opportunity, if they truly had designs on making a change, which makes the Los Angeles Kings, the timing of their thing, just so bizarre to me. But Jim Hiller's available. I don't think he's the answer. Wasn't the answer in Los Angeles. But, teams were presented with sort of a baked-in midseason training camp. If you were going to make a coaching change, like, it just felt like that was the time. I know Jim Rutherford has said they're not going to, and on that one, I do believe him. But I'm with you. Like, yes, I do have some of those concerns. And I think it's really hard to evaluate some of these young players when the Canucks are just getting rolled on a nightly basis, and the environment, I mean, it's not conducive to growth and development for these young players. And people can say, hey, hard knocks, they'll be better for it in the long run. But I do think everybody's got their limit of how much losing you can take. And, so yeah, I have those concerns, but I don't think at this stage, if you move Adam Foote out, are you promoting Manny Malhotra? Does Manny want this job here? Does he want to explore the field in the offseason? The Toronto Maple Leafs could be in the market for a coach. They've, I don't know, it's suggesting that they're going to pull the trigger on Craig Berube, but Manny was there. He's worked there in that market. The Columbus Blue Jackets, he played for the Blue Jackets. Rick Bowness, is he an interim guy? Like, there are going to be some teams out there that are likely to be looking for a new head coach. So I don't think it's slam dunk that Manny Malhotra is your guy. So if you were to move Adam Foote out now, do you just promote one of the bench coaches and give him the head coaching job for the rest of the season? What does that accomplish at this stage? So I'm always leery. I mean, they had Rick Tocchet, their guy, waiting in the wings. That's not always the case when you make an in-season coaching change, but there are just more and usually better options in the offseason when guys are out of contract or all teams are finished playing. So I just think you ride this thing out. But I'm with you. I mean, I don't see a way with 22 games to go that the Vancouver Canucks are, get on a roll. Come on. I'm not sure that they string back-to-back wins together the rest of the way. So, we'll see what rosters look like around the National Hockey League after the trade deadline. Like the Blues may sell and they could get weaker, but we're talking about a 10-point cushion here. Like, that's going to be really, really difficult for a team that has 2 wins in its last 22 games to think that all of a sudden they're going to find a way to stack a bunch of wins together. I don't see that happening. So I think Adam Foote is your coach till the end of the season, but I would fully expect that there will be a coaching change in the offseason here with the Canucks.
Jeff, thanks for doing this. I told you it'd be a long hit. We appreciate your time today. Thanks. Appreciate it.
It's fun. Thanks, guys.
There he is, Jeff Patterson, the host of Rinkwide Vancouver. People in the chat were mentioning this as well. Jeff had some absolute heat last night. I know it's a post-game show, so people might be like, oh, I don't really, I watched the game and that sucked. I don't want to go watch a show talking about the game. You do. Like Rinkwide's a really, really solid product, even with the Canucks not being a solid product. So shout out to Jeff and Irf and everybody involved with Rinkwide Vancouver. We got a couple super chats during that. One from Spat Silly, 279 super chat. It's a donation to the BC Mental Health Foundation. He said, always love the media insight / behind the scenes thoughts. And obviously referring to what Jeff had to say about Patrick Johnson's conversation with Elias Pettersson today. Let's stick on that for a hot sec here, Harm. What have your interactions been like with Elias Pettersson? Because I'll be honest, like there was a time where we were talking a lot, him and I, about like stick flex and stuff. I'm not at the rink as much as I used to be. I'm not. My job's just kind of shifted a bit where I kind of have to be at home base a little more often than I'd like to be potentially, but I'm not at the rink as much anymore. But like I've always had pretty good interactions with PD one-on-one. It's always been kind of my understanding that you're not really going to get much out of him in a scrum. And if you try, he's just going to shut it down. And I'm not saying like, oh, you need to adapt to that. I don't think that's great from Pettersson. And this whole idea of I'm not going to make a headline, which he does seem hyper-focused on, by the way. That's a headline in itself.
Yeah, I mean, on my part, I never had any negative run-ins with PD. I think earlier on in my media career, kind of like especially my first season covering the team, I would go to PD a lot more often in one-on-one situations, and he was willing to play ball. I mean, there might, like any player, be the odd practice where you can tell a player would rather chat on another day. And as a reporter, you just read the room and kind of make those adjustments. That's no big deal. I'd say when his play started to suffer, and let's not forget, it's not just the last couple of years. PD's entire tenure, since really COVID, has been up and down, right? Remember the 2021 COVID year where he got off to just a mysteriously slow start and then was shut down for the remainder of the season with his wrist injury. Early part of the Boudreau tenure didn't go well for him, and then finally he turned a corner. What I realized was when he struggled, he'd feel the heat from whether you want to call it the media, the fans, Canucks Twitter, just the market in general. And I think in times like that, he's been a little bit defensive. And at least from my perspective, what I learned pretty quickly, not just really through my interactions with him, but through hearing other reporters' interactions with him, is that he just shut down in terms of providing actual insight into his play when he's been struggling and providing kind of answers and theories for like specifics, right? He's always given the I can play better and been accountable from that perspective, but he hasn't really dived too deep beyond that. And honestly, at a certain point, I just decided that's okay if he doesn't want to provide that insight. If I don't feel I'm going to get good answers out of him, then I'm just not going to bother asking him questions. I'm not going to chat with him one-on-one. And that's not like I don't want to talk to Petey and him and I. Like, again, we've never had any negative run-ins. But it's just a conscious decision that I honestly made probably 2 or 3 years ago, that this is a player that when he's underachieving, underperforming, is not going to give you a lot of clarity. So like, I'm just wasting both of our times if I try and request him one-on-one. And I mean, he's not going to like the answer. He's not going to like the questions. I'm not going to like the answers. So what's the point? So from my vantage point, I just haven't gone out of my way to really speak to him in the last 2 or 3 years, despite being in the locker room.
I think one of the last conversations I had with him, and it was a really pleasant one, was on Botchford Project Day. And I was like, I don't even want to talk about hockey. I just want to talk about the Botchford Project. And yeah, he had some really nice stuff to say. But yeah, I'm with you. I hear you where you're just kind of thinking like, okay, this is kind of a waste of everyone's time. So we got another super chat here. It's from Web.3. It's a $2 donation to the BC Mental Health Foundation in all caps. It's time for Babcock. Yeah, I don't know about that. But we do appreciate the super chat. Actually, I do know about that. That's a bad idea. Yeah. Anyways, appreciate the donation. Yeah. All right. Let's go to anyone else. Which is a presentation of our friends over at Greta, a great spot for all games, home and away. You can skip the line and not have to pay cover on game nights if you're wearing the home team's gear. And of course, there's also the game day specials at Greta, including $3.33 off select food items, $3.33 for select drinks, and more. With the arcade, bar, and street food menu, Greta's a great spot. Make it your spot to watch the next game. 50 West Cordova Street is the address. Let the games begin. Okay, I'm trying to keep up with all the rumors. Someone in the chat said that Steven Rosner or Stefan. Is it Stefan or Steven? Do you know?
I would guess Stefan, but I don't know for sure.
All right. Well, that guy said, as we wait more on Garland, I don't believe the Isles would have to give up a first-round pick. Islanders would be doing the Canucks a favor. Okay, I think I might know who this came from. Isles would be doing the Canucks a favor with Garland's 6x6 extension carrying a no-move clause for the first 3 seasons of the deal. Second and a prospect makes more sense.
The overall take at the end, that's all that matters, right? Second and prospect makes more sense. That's basically what I said. I expected Garland's trade value to be anyway. The part about, well, the Isles are doing the Canucks a favor by taking on the 6x6. Yeah, I don't agree with that precise language, but the overall point he's making is, all right, if it's just Garland, then second and a prospect, it always seemed like the reasonable ballpark anyway. And then I guess it just kind of depends where, if you're taking on Drouin, then it's, I mean, sure, if you're the Canucks, you would ask for another sweetener, another modest piece, but I don't think I'd necessarily be angry if it was Garland for a second and a prospect plus Drouin is dumped to Vancouver as part of that, because Drouin, I think you could bring in, hopefully rehabilitate his value, retain 50% on him at the deadline next year, and maybe get like a second or third round pick for him at next year's deadline. I don't think that contract is toxic enough that this isn't Andrew Mangiapane where it's a clear, all right, the team has to give up a piece. It's Drouin contracts. Yeah, he's a little overpaid. Hasn't worked out on Long Island, but just as recently as last season, he was pretty productive in Colorado.
Stefan also tweeted out, I'm told that Myers is not part of the potential Garland deal with the Isles. So definitely one to keep an eye on.
And we'll see on the quality of the prospect as well. This is pure speculation on my part, but I wonder if Danny Nelson would be a name the Canucks would be looking at. I'm presuming that Eklund, Aitchison, and Yzerman are untouchables. They'd be more legit blue chip guys. But if we're talking about B grade caliber prospects, Nelson, he's 20 years old. He's a 6'3" center, near point per game in Notre Dame. There's not necessarily a lot of skill there or offensive upside, but he skates really well. He's athletic, again, has the size. could perhaps be a bottom 6 NHL player one day. And again, because of the size and the position as a center, I wonder if that's the kind of prospect that the Canucks would ask about.
Bridgeport. The Bridgeport Islanders tweeted out, "Oh, I just lost it. Damn it. Sometimes I hate, actually no, all the time. I hate this stupid Twitter. Like, you hit the home button, right? You hit the home button. Anyways, I'm getting distracted, but I lose tweets all the time. Anyways, this one from the Bridgeport Islanders, I found it. Gleb Varimyev, forward, and Jesse Pulkkinen, defenseman, have been reassigned to Bridgeport by the New York Islanders. Now, I don't know if the Islanders got something else cooking or what's going on, but two guys going down to the A, creating a couple roster spots. I don't know, man. Makes you think. Doesn't it make you think? Makes me think.
Yeah, it's when you see both the Isles and the Canucks making roster transactions, it certainly makes you wonder for sure.
Today's one of those days where I kind of just want to stall. Like, we don't have much else to get to, but I just want to stall because it feels like a day that at 3 p.m. something's going to hit. If it does, especially a Garland trade. Like, I know people are asking. Someone asked in the chat the other day. I know it's anyone else when we're supposed to read today's questions and comments, but someone asked yesterday, like, what's your threshold of what you would do an emergency episode for? And like a Tyler Myers trade, we were kind of like, probably not. Like, we probably wouldn't do an emergency show. But like Connor Garland, we would immediately go live. We would be up quick. Not as quick maybe as when Quinn Hughes got traded. That took 10 minutes, but I ain't going anywhere tonight. So we'll be ready. We'll be ready if and when anything happens. It's also a good time to tell everybody about the Daily Faceoff trade deadline special, because there's lots of irons in the fire. There's lots of different stuff going on. 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Pacific time for wall-to-wall coverage of every single move as it happens, instant reaction, expert analysis, exclusive insights from special guests throughout the day. Tune in live on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel and don't miss a second of deadline day chaos.
Mancini also recalled.
Oh, just good. Mancini recalled. Yeah, I said we would talk about the P.O. Joe stuff. It is Mancini that's going to get the shot. Yeah. We kind of assumed that it would be him. Minio, Kudratsev, they're probably next up on the list of names you're looking at for a late season call-up. Here's something for you, Harm. Did you see the news yesterday about the time? This is the last time our clocks are going to spring forward.
Yeah.
Give me your takes on daylight savings time.
I like it. I'm on board with it. I have hated when it's November, December, and you walk outside at 4:23 p.m. and it's pitch black dark.
100% agree.
That sucks.
100% agree.
It will be a little bit odd because the other side of the coin is you're gonna wake up some mornings and it'll be like now 8:40 a.m. sometimes, and it's gonna be dark, right? But I'll take that over the alternative any day of the week. And I mean, as a hockey fan, it's going to lead to some interesting changes where with the California teams, they normally have 7:30 Pacific starts. So those are likely going to be 8:30 Pacific start or 8:30 p.m. starts here local time, as well as doesn't sound like Washington State is going to be joining BC in this. So Kraken games are going to be 8 p.m. here. It means on all Eastern time games are going to start at 5 p.m. instead of 4 p.m.
Yeah,
that means Hockey Night in Canada is going to start at 5 p.m. instead of 4 p.m. And if the Canucks are the late game on Hockey Night in Canada, there are going to be 8 p.m. local starts here too for Saturday night games. So a lot more 8 p.m. starts to gear up for if you're a Canucks fan.
Which I hate. I absolutely hate it.
I don't like that part of it, but it is what it is.
Dude, I am not. Ask me, okay, Canucks played last night. What time do you think I was in bed? Go ahead. Like asleep.
10:30?
Nope, earlier.
10?
10:15. I was basically watching the game with a nightcap on.
I mean, you got into a line of work that has odd hours. I don't think you can.
No, I know that.
This is what we signed up for, man.
Yeah, I get that. But I also get up early, to be clear. My first meeting today was at 6:30 in the morning.
It could be worse. You could be an Eastern reporter. And can you imagine all those West Coast starts for
That's
them?
true. The 10:30 start. That's true.
10:30 starts. So yeah, we'll adapt to it. I'm not going to complain about that.
Well, that makes one of us. I don't know, man. What you really need, let's be honest here, what you really need is everybody to follow suit, right? Like UConn's already done this. I didn't realize that, but UConn's already done this. They did it in 2020. BC's kind of setting the tone now. Now you need Washington State. Now you need California to follow suit. Like that's what you need. That's what you need to happen, because it is garbage that you're going to drive across the border 35 minutes south. We got listeners in White Rock. We got listeners in South Surrey. Did you know 5 minutes south of you can time travel? That's nonsense. I don't like that. So miss me with that.
Onk yells at clouds.
Where'd it go? Web.3 in the chat said, in 2029, I hope you guys are like, man, remember when the Canucks were so bad that we were chatting about daylight savings time on the
Honestly,
podcast?
though, the Canucks are the San Jose Sharks before they got Macklin Celebrini. The Canucks without Quinn Hughes. Well, when the Sharks were in town, I ran into one of the reporters that travels and follows the Sharks everywhere, and he's covered the Sharks for a long time. Sheng Peng does awesome stuff for, I believe, San Jose Hockey Now. And he brought this up unprompted. He was like, this Canucks team reminds me of covering the Sharks pre-Macklin Celebrini. And that's what it just is. So, yeah, I mean, it'll hopefully get better. I mean, the Canucks they're not going to get their own Celebrini per se this year, but hopefully they get a McKenna and things start looking up from there. This should theoretically be rock bottom. I don't think it can get worse than this. Like, this is as bleak as it gets in terms of not only 32nd, but there's no one on this current roster that you're at least up front that you're that excited about, right? Like, as much as Liam Ogren is a great story, he's been producing at around a 30-ish points per 82 games pace since he got to Vancouver. There are obviously levels to this, and as the Canucks collect lottery picks, even if they aren't Macklin Celebrini caliber, you'll at least get the excitement of, like, just the same way that when you started to see rookie Brock Besser, then you got rookie Elias Pettersson, then you got rookie Quinn Hughes. It just adds a level of excitement, even if you're losing games.
All right, last thing from me. Actually, no, I want to keep talking about this for a sec. People in the chat are like, oh, walks at NFL games at 11, though. I hate that. Weekends, I'm up at 8:30. I make my breakfast, and by 10 a.m., I got Red Zone started. Now, lunch with Red Zone? What? Come on. No, that's nonsense. I don't like that at all. Give me 10 a.m. starts are awesome. We had a great, and this is I like that we're not doing daylight savings anymore. You're a dog owner. You know how annoying it is? Your dog doesn't know that the time's changed. It takes me like a week to get the little guy figured out on his food, so he's not like an hour early whining at his food cabinet and telling me like, hey, let's go, feed me. So anyway, I don't remember where I was going with that. What we need is everybody else to just follow suit. That's all we need. That'll fix all of this. But for now,
yeah, hopefully. I think that's the solution we can agree on, is hopefully the rest of the Western states in the U.S. follow suit.
Yeah.
But I'm a fan of it in general.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. RJ Celebrini getting some love in the chat. Okay, when is RJ Celebrini's draft year?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Isn't it like 2029? Jake, you know.
He's
when is
what,
Jake,
14?
Yeah. Okay. Hang on. I got this. Okay. I'm looking up his numbers to see what he's doing these days. Wait, do I have the wrong kid? Oh no. Where's his numbers? What the hell's going on here?
I've got them here if you want me to.
Yeah, rattle off all the RJ Celebrini stuff you can.
Yeah, he's got 54 games played, 68 goals, 73 assists, 141 points for North Shore Winter Club this year.
Okay, you also know this. Who is he playing against? Like, what are we looking at here in terms of competition?
I think North Shore Winter Club, the team that he's playing for, is still minor hockey, so he'd be playing against like I played Cloverdale minor hockey growing up, so like that would be the equivalent.
Okay. Do you ever play anyone putting up 68 goals in 50 games?
They didn't keep our minor hockey stats back then.
Damn. All right. When's he draft eligible? He's 14 or 15?
14. Born in
Okay.
2012. That was crazy to read.
Oh, okay. It's like the old Macklin Celebrini was 13 when COVID started. When people bring that up, you're
Yeah.
like, whoa, okay. All right, cool. Nice. All right. Yeah, I got nothing else. Anything else? Either of you?
I think I'm good.
All right. Well, we'll be ready to go live if a trade gets announced. But yeah, we'll get to our bet 365. Bet of the day. Yesterday, what happened? Someone said the Hurricanes lost. Yeah, the Kraken beat the Hurricanes. Nice.
You bet on what was your bet?
Wasn't it the Kraken?
I don't remember.
I think it was the Kraken. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone chime in if I'm wrong. I thought it was the Kraken because someone brought it up in the chat, so I think they're right. Anyway, tonight, the Minnesota Wild. We're looking for the home underdogs. The Minnesota Wild are home underdogs to the Tampa Bay Lightning. You can get Wild money line at plus 120 odds over at Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get it on the game. Use the code NATION at Bet365. Must be 19 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. All right. Oh, Jake, good call. Jake chimed in to say, do we want to do Tankathon? We don't, but we should do it.
Yes,
should
we need to do
good
it.
Shout, Jake. People in the chat would be very upset. Yeah, let's do Tankathon, Jake. Let's do it.
Okay, I'll load it up here.
All right, so the New York Rangers jumped to number 1. The Florida Panthers jumped to number 2, and once again,
What?
the Canucks fall to third.
The
Jake, can
Panthers top 2 again. This is
Jake,
the
can
most
you write
depressing
down
thing
these
ever.
results? The top 3. Can you please write this down so that Jacob can add it to the list tomorrow?
Yeah, I will.
Excellent. This is a lot of fun. I don't know whose idea was this. Was this you or Jacob that came up with this, Harm? Like,
I don't think it was me doing it the first time. And then once the idea of doing it every day was brought up, that's when I endorsed it. It's like, yeah, we have to do it every day now.
I don't like this at all. I don't want to do this. This is
We have to for the data now, just to see how hilarious it would be.
All right. A lot of fun here at Canucks Conversation. It's depressing, man. Get your Family Feud responses in. We're still looking for some responses. We'll play Family Feud on Thursday, but we'll be back at it tomorrow. We'll close it out there. For my co-host Harmon Dial and our technical producer Jake Frazier, my name is Dave Quadrelli. Thanks so much for the episode of Canucks Conversation. Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.